these aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact Friday. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another 5 Fact Friday with me, Charlie Lambden, on Moving Home with Charlie. It's Friday, the 15th of August. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Early today. Got to get this out of the way. Got a big day. And this week, we have the top 5 headlines for this week's 5 Fact Friday are: the reports come out saying that the Renters' Rights Bill would see 20% of all private rental properties wiped off the market for rent for not meeting decent home standard. 20%, over 1 million. And it would force those properties to be sold, but increase homelessness in the process and create significant upward pressure on rents, if that's right. Fact number 2, Bloomberg reports that the government's tax hikes have slammed the brakes on wage growth. And as we all know, if you've been watching the channel for long enough, wage growth is the number one thing. Real wage growth is the number one correlation with house prices. Fact number 3, average rents for the whole country have fallen for the first time in 15 years. Of course, there are places where they aren't falling, yet, but the average, and again, this is why average is meaningless, but it's still an interesting thing to see that that's the state of the economy as a whole. That's a negative leading indicator for the economy, that rents are falling. And Greater London continued to record the steepest decline. So rents in London falling the fastest of anywhere, falling 3% year on year in July. Its 7th consecutive monthly decline and the biggest annual drop since COVID. Fact number 4, tragically, another 34,000 job losses announced in this week's government jobs figure. Again, very, very negative for employment and wage growth and the economy. And fact number 5, after an apparently optimistic report last month from the RACS in their monthly survey of their surveyors survey, this month's RACS survey shows worries for the housing market in their August survey, and we'll get into all of that. So those are the 5 facts for those of you who don't want this to be ramble for the next however long it's going to be. Good morning and welcome, and I hope that the hot weather is making your day better and not worse. I know it'll be doing both for different people. I hope you are on the benefit side of that. Who do we have watching in the live chat already? You guys up early? Yacek, good morning. Nima, Duffy, Joel Webster, Coach House in Town. Hi there. John O.B., Robert Jones. Welcome. Nice to have you with me on this Friday morning. It's a very sunny Friday morning where I am. Okay, let's get into these in a bit more detail. Oh, by the way, the newsletter, the 5 Fact Friday newsletter, has just simultaneously gone out with the start of this live stream at 8 o'clock. And in that, you'll see my thought for the week. And if you want to get the thought for the week, make sure that you do sign up to my newsletter, which is mhwc.co.uk/newsletter. Okay. Back to fact number 1. And by the way, but actually, before we get into that, important one is the, where is it? This didn't make it into the 5 facts, but I want to talk about it because Santander is one of the mortgage lenders that's decided to relax its lending rules. And for some couples, that means an extra £130,000 you can borrow, another £130,000 of debt. And look how happy you should be about it. You should be as happy as that couple in the window. Yes, we can have an extra 15 years of paying off debt well into our retirement. Isn't that great, darling? Isn't that wonderful? Those of you who've heard Stiggy talking on this topic will know that nothing worsens affordability more than increased lending. Let me say that again. Nothing makes houses less affordable. No. Nothing makes housing less affordable than increasing lending. increasing multiples, which they've done to a multiple of 6, and increasing lending terms. So when you give people who yesterday could borrow £300,000 and today they can borrow £430,000, because most first-time buyers are just blind zombies who have to get on the housing ladder no matter what it costs, and we don't care whether we're paying this off for the rest of our life, we just want to get out of rented. Those guys end up then lifting the prices and lifting the prices away from people who are left behind. This has happened before. This is a bad thing. It's even bad. The only people for whom it's not bad are lenders and new house builders. It is bad for everybody else. But that's not one of the 5 facts. Here's the first fact I started. Over 1 million PRS homes in England currently fail decent home standard. And when the Renters' Rights Bill becomes law, so this means should the proposed extension of the DHS within the Renters' Rights Bill pass into law, they would be illegal to rent. In the private sector, 15.8% of all homes fall below the required standard. Though they will not be impacted by the Renters' Rights Bill proposal and subsequent DHS reform, but for rented homes specifically, so 15.8% of all homes, not just rented homes, all homes, including owner-occupied properties, fall below the required standard to meet the decent home standard. But for rented homes specifically, 21% of them, an estimated 1 million, fall below the decent homes standard. And they are planning to make that law, Renters' Rights Bill, or they're saying they want to do it this year. It's looking very likely that it will become law next year. And that means that that's 1 million homes that are currently rented that will become illegal to rent again. 1 million homes that the landlords are either going to have to sell them when the tenant moves out, or upgrade them. Okay, so you can figure out for yourself what that means for the market. I mean, it'll be good news for first-time buyers. There'll be more choice, more first-time buyer type homes coming in the market, but it'll be bad news for an awful lot of tenants who get made homeless, and bad news for rent prices. Although rents are coming down, so who knows? Maybe we can absorb it. Right, the next thing. This is on Bloomberg. Reeves tax hikes speed the cooldown in UK wage growth. And what does wage growth cause? House price growth. So when wage growth comes down, house price growth comes down. And all of this is important because what I'm trying to get everyone to understand is that what you think is okay to pay isn't. You've got to pay less. You've got to stop overpaying. Those of you who've listened and taken this on board and understand what not overpaying means, amazing. But every single day, I'm getting new followers who are new to this and haven't heard it before. And I'm going to get this point across to them. You're probably going to overpay because you probably, if you're new here, think that house prices always go up. And you need to watch my video that I did on Wednesday night, explaining why that's no longer the case and the housing landscape has changed completely. And I'm publishing this because this should get more coverage than interest rates when it comes to what's going to happen to house prices. This has a bigger impact on house prices than interest rates do. I know people don't like to talk about that because everyone likes to go, hey, interest rates are coming down. That means house prices are going to go to the moon. No, they're not anymore. They're just not. That's not happening. The fundamentals don't exist for that to happen. Okay, so this is only going to get worse. The economy is getting worse. Wages are going to get worse, despite the very strong wage growth. And the other thing is this, by the way, even though normally, if you go back and look at Alex Groundwater's graph of inflation-adjusted wages to inflation-adjusted house prices, it does show a very strong correlation. What's different now is that the fiscal drag or the lowering of income tax thresholds relative to rising wages is not being factored in to the affordability. So even though gross wages are going up for some people, the actual net take-home disposable is not going up in the same amount. And that's why house prices are not going up in real terms. or even in relation to wage growth. All right. So, and who would have thought this, right? Who would have thought if we put more tax on employing people, so if we make it more expensive for an employer to hire someone, that's going to mean that employers hire less people and also pay them lower wages. No one could have seen that coming. God knows what she's got up her sleeve for this August. It just doesn't bear thinking about. Right. Fact number 3. Average rents fall for the first time in 5 years. Is it 15? 5 years. Lower mortgage rates, they're saying, have helped cool rental sector after years of above inflation increases in rent, data shows. This is a story from Hamptons. And my sort of slightly ironic post here is, good news, rents are falling, even with demand increasing, as in the people who think that because population is going up, it means demand goes up for housing. It doesn't necessarily, because people got to be able to afford it. But it does only mean one thing. The economy is dying, right? This is the point here. Yes, good news for renters. Of that, there can be no doubt. It is good news that rents have stopped going up in most areas and are even falling in some areas. This is fantastic news, especially if you're renting and saving up to buy a home. Genuinely, outstandingly great news. But you have to look at why they're going up. And why they're coming down. And the reason that rent's coming down is because the underlying economy, people's disposable income, people's ability to pay rent is going down. And that is another factor feeding into what's going to happen with house prices. And here is the FT Advisor story on it. Average rents fall for the first time in 2020. And I know for a lot of people, especially first-time renters, are going to be watching this and listening and thinking, what are you talking about, Charlie? I can't find someone to rent. The fact you can't find someone to rent doesn't mean rents are still going up. It just means rents are unaffordable for you. But this is good news. It's good news for renters. It's not good news for the economy, and it's not good news for jobs. But it is good news for renters. And it is a leading indicator of what's happening in the economy. And the economy affects jobs, and jobs affect wages, and wages affect what? What do wages affect? House prices. Although, with the government loosening lending and lenders loosening lending criteria and suddenly matching up another 100 grand to lend to a first-time buying couple, that will have some cushioning effect on the downward pressure of house prices. Okay, so you've got the economy pushing down house prices, and you've got lenders pushing up on house prices. No, we're going to lend more, keep them up. We're going to prop them up. The economy's dying. House prices are going to fall. Quick, lend more money to prop them up. We can't let house prices fall. Why not? Let the house prices fall. By the way, at the end of this, I'm going to show you a boring but important fact on national house prices from my best agent data. But there is one good underlying piece of good news, a long-term underlying piece of good news. I said 3 years ago, when people said, Charlie, is it a good thing if house prices crash? I said, no, it's not. House price crashes cause a lot of short-term pain and destroy lives and cause negative equity. People lose homes, it causes homelessness. It's an economic shock, blah, blah, blah. But people said, but Charlie, but you say house prices are too much. Yes, they are. And they need to come down. Yes, they do. They need to come down relative to wages. And what I said 3 years ago is that the best case scenario is if nominal prices flatline whilst wages grow. That's now been happening for a while. And if that and there's also more coming on the market. This is not good for sellers, by the way. Sellers are not having a good time at the moment, and it's continuing to be more of a buyer's market. But the longer this happens, the more affordability improves if the government and the lenders could stop buggering about and trying to repump prices back up. Let them flatline, please. Let the house prices flatline. It will increase affordability. It'll increase transaction volumes. It will increase economic activity, and it will allow some of the value locked up in houses to get unlocked and get back into the economy. Next fact number 4. Oh God, it is a lot of doom and gloom today in the news, but this is just doom and gloom from the government themselves, despite them trying to prop it up. Another 26,000 payroll jobs gone in 1 month, and another 8,000 added to last month. So 26,000 fewer in August and 8,000 more added to last month's job loss figures. That's over 1,000 people every working day losing jobs net. That is 1,000 people a day losing jobs who can't find another job. It's an utter tragedy. Every day, 1,000 people ending up out of work and unable to get back into work. And there's the ONS data that backs it up. I mean, the ONS data is that you've got to go and watch. So Sasha Yansen's done 2 videos this week, one on the jobs data and then one on the GDP data. And for anyone who's under the impression that actually things aren't that bad, I mean, I've been watching the news and things that wakey, snap out of it, go and look at what's actually happening. No one explains the government's data and the holes in it and the flaws in their headline data better than Sasha Yansen does. Go and check out Sasha Yansen's take on the UK housing market and economy, please. Again, what does jobs mean for the housing market? Employment going down is bad for house prices. For those who keep their jobs and whose wages are going up, things are improving, the outlook improves. For the country as a whole, for the economy as a whole, for social mobility as a whole, for prosperity as a whole, things are looking increasingly bleak. Despite the government, I mean, honestly, Rachel Reeves and her unbelievable ability to come out in public and go, "We fixed the foundations. Now we're going to create growth." That was the headline in her article that she wrote in The Guardian this week. When we fix the foundations, next job, create growth. It's literally like nothing's wrong at all. It's mind-boggling brainwashing. Please don't buy it. Please don't fall for it. Okay. It's time for the RICS Residential Market Survey. Now, for everyone who's new, welcome. By the way, welcome to all my new followers across all platforms. Follower growth is kind of ticking up again, which is really cool. The Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors puts out an unusual monthly house price report. Monthly housing market report, not prices. It doesn't do prices. And it's unusual precisely because it doesn't do actual prices. It doesn't talk about prices. Good thing. No point talking about prices because it's the biggest red herring of all, guys. You all want to talk about house prices, but actually all you care about is your house price. And all the national data on house prices doesn't affect your house price. But we all suck it up, and everyone goes out there and sucks up all the house price news, thinking it's going to tell you what's going to happen to your house price. It doesn't. It doesn't work. All that house price news does is make you think house prices are going up when they're not. Right. The sales market. Hang on, remain challenging. The sales market conditions remain challenging, with previous signs of recovery, so just for 1 month, faltering somewhat. So that is about as negative as you'll ever hear them say, right? The surveyors are much less guffy than the lenders' indices and the portals indices, who always just go, everything's brilliant, yay. But they still tend to put a bit of a positive spin on it because that industry just doesn't like you to be talking the market down. It makes me laugh that people think that anyone could talk the market up or down, that the market doesn't just do what the market wants to do. The market does what the market wants to do. Whatever anybody says, it makes no difference. Charlie, you're talking the market down. Really? I didn't know I was that powerful. I'm talking down the biggest multi-trillion-pound market. Me? I'm talking it down? Hey! I had no idea I was that powerful. Buyer demand and agreed sales measures fall back into negative territory. House prices edge lower at the national level. That's not actually measuring house prices. I'll explain what that is in a moment. And sales activity is now expected to remain flat in the near term. Now, these guys, their expectations are always, and I can prove it with their own graph, right? Their expectations are always more positive than it turns out. So they're quite good at giving you a snapshot of what's happening this month in their graphs, which we'll get on to. But their predictions, their projections are always, without exception, always optimistic. So their sales activity was expected to go up. So they're now saying that they're expecting it to remain flat, which means it will go down, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, if they think it remains flat, it means it's going to go down because they are always optimistic about this. Now, the way the survey works is that they ask, and I put the link to this in the 5 Fact Friday link. So, and I recommend you all, if you want to know what's happening in this survey in your region, have a look. It is quite interesting to see the regional variations in this report. The percentage balance that's reported in these graphs is the percentage of positive versus negative. So the questions that they ask, which are actually listed in this in the PDF, the exact questions that are asked in the survey, are just up or down, sales activity, up or down, prices, up or down. And they go up, down, and then they report on the balance of the ups and the downs. That's how it works. And it historically has quite a good correlation to what's really happening with transactions and prices. So it is an interesting one. I tend to ignore the actual sort of headline guff up here, but at the end of it, they start to quote individual surveyors from around the country. And that's where it's worth you downloading it and reading it yourself to see what the local surveyors in where you live are saying. But if we get into some of these sales market charts, there's nothing revelatory here. But in the past 3 months, so this chart on the left, and you'll see it's very ziggy-zaggy, uppy-downy, and this goes back 30 years, right? There's a lot of noise. It's a sentiment thing. And it's, are they going up or are they going down? Are they going up or are they going down? And actually, that graph would argue against the property ladder myth that house prices always go up, right? That's a much truer reflection of what's happening with house prices. They go up sometimes, they go down sometimes. They go up sometimes, they go down sometimes. Yes, in nominal terms, so excluding inflation, in the long term, they're always going up as the value of money goes down. But I'm trying to bust the myth that you'll always make money buying a house, because that's not true. Over here, the past 3 months, so the two on the right are Scotland and Northern Ireland, and those have been outperforming England and Wales for years now. So there's two blue bars on the right-hand side are regional prices in the past 3 months. So what's happening in the past 3 months, and the blue bar is the current month. The purple bar is the current month. The blue dot is the 3-month average. And the only area in England that's got a net positive balance. So that doesn't mean that they all think that house prices are going up. It means slightly more think they're going up than think they're going down. All right. So it needs to be up at 100% or more before it's all of them agree prices are going up. So all areas, there's a net balance of negative readout on prices in the past 3 months, with the exception of Wales, that's flat. The north of England, that's a very slightly positive balance, and the northwest that has a modestly positive balance on prices. So this is just a very rough indicator that overall the northwest is doing slightly better on prices than anywhere else in the UK. West Midlands down slightly, East Midlands down slightly. All right. Then the next two graphs are national inquiries from buyers. So the zigzaggy line on the left is buyer inquiries in the last month, and the bar chart is regional new buyer inquiries. So national, zigzaggy line, regional, bar chart. And this is the buyer inquiries in the last month, just the number of buyer inquiries that they're getting. Okay. And again, with the exception of the Northwest, where they've seen a noticeable increase in buyers in the last month. So that's Manchester, places like that. And also a small increase in London, which is surprising. Everywhere else has seen a reduction in buyer inquiries in the past month, right? Except for Scotland and Northern Ireland, those two on the right, right? So the Northwest is the outlier just last month. Don't read too much into this. This is monthly, and it goes up and down. As you can see on the left-hand side, it zigzags all over the place, right? And it goes into new vendor instructions, and it goes into the lettings market as well. This is the chart that shows that they're always optimistic, all right, on their price expectations. Okay. So this zigzaggy line on the left is, do they think that house prices are going to go up 3 months from now or down 3 months from now? And the dark line is 3 months from now, and the dotted blue line is 12 months from now. And what you'll see is that going back as far as 2012, the blue line is always much higher than the dark purple line. Okay, so that is literally 10, 12 years worth of cold hard evidence of these surveyors' optimism, over optimism. This is no surprise to anyone who works in the industry, because these guys like to talk the market up. But you know, they're always more optimistic. This time next year, Rodders, this time next year, much higher. And then down the bottom, wait, where have they got the? No, I'm just going to pick one at random. So there we are. There's East Anglia. David Boyden from Boyden's in East Anglia giving his view on the market. Kevin Burke-Gray from Pocock and Shaw. So yeah, go and have a look at those regional reports from the regional surveyors. It can be quite interesting, and it can give you a little bit of an indication of what's going on. Right, guys. I promised I'd also show you the best agent data, didn't I? Because this is, you know, when I was talking about house prices flatlining, this is very, very boring and unexciting. But given that we know inflation is running at 4%, you'd like to think, wouldn't you, that house prices would be running at 4% growth roughly as well. Now, this is hot off the press from yesterday. And the only headline I've got here for you is that the median asking price, so there's two prices in the middle, the 300,000 and the 340,000, right? These prices here, the median average rather than the mean average, right, have not changed all year. Okay? Those two prices have not changed at all in 2025. And the median is a price that's never used by the industry. No one uses median house prices, but they use them in America. They're a much, much more worthwhile, usable, and valuable indicator of what's happening to the market as a whole. This is England, not the whole of the UK. It's just England. Okay, this is asking prices only. It's not sold prices. But when I say house prices nationally are flatlining, literally flatlining, absolutely locked on. So for those of you who understand how medians are calculated, it picks, it takes 100% of the house prices that are on the market. And by the way, this is the whole market, right? This is all properties on the market being measured here. And it's a raw median. There's no mix adjustment. There's no weighting. There's no seasonal adjustment. It is a raw median average. And slap bang in the middle is 300,000. And the reason this is a much, much better measure of what's happening to house prices at a national level is because this number is relatively unaffected by the wildly big value properties that come onto the market, whereas the average price is much more, so the mean average is much more sensitive to outlier high prices. You don't get outlier low prices in the market. The distribution of prices in the housing market is heavily concentrated at the bottom, then gradually tapers off to the top, which is why an average, a mathematical mean, is a useless figure in the housing market, and a median is good. So median asking prices of unsold properties, so the lower one, this one here, right, are £340,000 in England for this year and have not changed all year. And median asking prices for properties that are selling is 40 grand less. So there is a 40 grand gap in asking prices between properties that are selling and properties that aren't selling at the national level in England. Okay? So you could argue that on average, all the stuff that's not selling is on the median 40 grand overpriced. Or what's that, about 13% overpriced? Now, this is one of the simplest calculations out there, but I honestly think it's one of the most useful. Ignore national averages, including my best agent national average. Ignore it, but understand the message that it gives, which is overpricing is rampant. You've got, look how many there are for sale compared to how many are selling, right? 544,000 for sale properties in England today. Only 159,000 of them selling, 160,000 of them selling. And their median asking price, and by the way, they are selling for lower than those prices. Okay, Zoopla's got the gap between sold price and asking price, and it's something like another 5% below that, 4 or 5%. I can't remember, that could be wrong. Don't quote me on it. But if you're a seller, look at this, right? Do you want to be the person with your house on the market at 340,000 not selling? Or do you want to be the person with your house on the market at 300,000 who is selling? Please think it through. And just to see how pointless the averages are, this is why when they do mathematical mean as opposed to median, it's just wildly silly. You know, that's the mathematical mean average is 20% higher than the mathematical median average asking price off the stuff that's selling, rendering, in my opinion, the average prices pointless and useless. And look at the average price, the average mathematical mean of unsold property, 450 grand. So many sellers with their head in the clouds out there. Well, I know what I want for it. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. The market doesn't care what you think your property is worth. The market doesn't care what your estate agent valued it at. The market doesn't care how much you spent on the flowery wallpaper. The market doesn't care that your garden's bigger than your neighbour's garden. It doesn't care. Only the market will decide what your house is worth. It's amazing how many people think that the offers on their house aren't what their house is worth. My house is worth £340,000, but I'm only getting offers of 300. Then it's only worth 300. I don't know how else to get this message across. But the agent valued it at 340,000. Doesn't matter. Evaluation is a guess. Evaluation is a guess at what people are going to offer. It is not what your house is worth. A valuation is a guess. Please, everyone, whenever you think about what my house has been valued at, no, it's what someone has guessed your house might sell for. A house cannot be worth more than it would sell for. And if you believe that it is, I'm afraid you're delusional and mistaken. How can anything be worth more than someone will pay for it? It can't, can it? So if you're a seller who has believed the valuation, by the way, if it isn't paid for, by the way, it's not a valuation, right? It's a market appraisal, and it's a number that's given to you as a seller to basically make you, we think we can get this much for it. Can you guarantee that? No. Here's a good question. Baldricks Turnip on this topic. Hi, Charlie. We started having estate agents in to market our home before we found you. Oh, God, I know. I wish more people would find me before this happens. Sorry about that. We plan to have more. Yes, well, sleepy. Where have you been? Wake up, pay attention. We plan to have more estate agents in using your advice. Do we give the ones we had a second chance? That depends whether or not you feel you were misled by them or let down by them. If you feel that actually the price you're on the market at is the price you chose and told them you wanted to go on at, and you think otherwise they seem professional, competent, they return calls quickly, and they know what they're talking about, you might want to give them a second chance and lower the price with those guys. If not, then you should punish agents for overvaluing and find an agent that doesn't overvalue. But here is the question to ask the other agents you're going to get in. This is the most important question any seller should ever ask an estate agent when they're choosing an estate agent. You preface your question with the following statement. I know that the market will decide what my house is worth. So what I want to ask you, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, is what do you do that other agents don't that guarantees to get me multiple viewings and competing offers? And say, if they start talking about prices, say, I don't want to talk about prices. I don't want to hear prices because it's guesswork. I don't want to hear guesses. I want to understand what it is about your service that results in more viewings than other agents. And if they stumble and go, and I can tell you what the first answer will be from a crap agent. Well, we obviously we go put it on all portals, right? That is your immediate flag that they don't have any way of getting more viewings than other agents. A competent agent will go, oh my God, that question's music to my ears. That's fantastic that you understand that the market decides the price. Here's the process that we use to get more people through the door and make a market for your property. No people through your door equals no market for your property. Your property being on Rightmove doesn't make a market for it. Your property being on an agent's website or a portal or Facebook or anywhere else doesn't make a market for it. That is one step to try and make a market for it. But if you don't have people through the door, you don't have a market for your home. And a trickle of one viewing every week or two is not a market. That's a trickle. Okay, you need concurrent viewings happening. You need a bunch of viewings happening. That's how to make a market for your house. The number of people through the door is the size of the market that the agent's created for your house. What do you do, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, that gets me a market of viewers through the front door of my house? I don't want to hear a single price out of your mouth. Unless they say, well, the most important thing to do is to get the launch price right. Fantastic. You want to hear that. You want to hear that. And don't talk about numbers, right? We'll cover the numbers later. Like, it's so tempting to get into, and what price might that be? Because as a seller, all you want to know is, what am I going to get for it? But you've got to stop thinking like that. Because the best way to get the best price for your house is the maximum number of people through the door, and the rest will take care of itself, I promise you. Okay? As long as you've got a halfway competent agent that knows how to manage offers effectively and doesn't scare people away, because there are bad agents that actually scare buyers off. Honestly. Then if you get people through the door, only a bad agent will then stuff it up after that. And it's not just about putting it on the market at a really low price. You can go too low. This is why you've got to get a really good agent, because there is a sweet spot to the launch price, an absolute sweet spot. If it goes too low, you can be outside the price bracket of people who are looking for a house like that. And so there is a risk of launching it too low, okay, in certain markets. There is a sweet spot, and it's really, really important. And if you get it right, the data I've got with the agent that I'm working with at the moment is that the launch price, if you get it right, ends up being about 3 to 6% below the actual sale price. Right? If you get the launch price right, which is a big if, and you need an agent to help you do that, a seasoned, experienced, qualified professional agent to do that, right? If you get the launch price right, you should get, as long as there's nothing wrong with the property, you should get 3 to 6% over asking price if you get the launch price right. Yes, it's 3 to 6% over what will be a lower than average asking price, but you'll get a market. And what most people end up doing is ending up getting 5 to 10% below their asking price, which is too high. And it's lower than you would otherwise get because you haven't created a market. You've got 1 or 2 people through the door. And it's a excuse me. It's a fallacy and a mistake to think we only need that one buyer that falls in love with the house. You'll end up underselling if that's what you get. Because any buyer that knows that they're the only buyer won't offer as much as a buyer that's bidding against other buyers if you have a market for the house. That was a long answer to your question, Baldricks Turnip, wasn't it? Yeah, Jean-Marc Bordeaux is joking, I hope, when he says this. I'll take the extra 40 grand, 300 versus 340, and wait and see. The wait and see is a very expensive mistake in this market. Don't do it. It's a buyer's market. Change is coming. What would you like Stig's opinion on? Let me know. Remind me, because I think I know what most of his opinions are on this. Any other questions? Otherwise, guys, I'm going to wrap it up and call it for that. Some of you are hopefully watching because you've received my newsletter this morning. Thank you very much. Did you like the thought of the week? The thought of the week is exclusive to newsletter mailing list members only. So if you're not on my mailing list for the new weekly newsletter, that's where you join up. mhwc.co.uk/newsletter. Thanks to those of you who are joining. Other than that, I'd like to wish you all a very happy weekend. Please, I hope you get to enjoy the good weather. And I hope that all of this economic news doesn't get you down. Always look on the bright side of life, says the Monty Python boys. Have a fantastic time. Remember, if you are buying and you want a home and you found one that you like, always buy, but don't overpay. Work out your maximum comfortable price and make your offer. No more and no less. If you offer your maximum comfortable price first time with everything ready alongside it, so you're make sure you guys have got this, my offer email template, right? Just Google it. Charlie's MHWC email offer template. There's cash buyers and there's one for mortgage buyers, right? Here's the template and you can use it and you can help yourself to it. It's free to use. Whether you're buying with cash or a mortgage, make sure you use my appropriate template, right? Make your offer. If you're a seller, get your house sale ready with your lawyers first, so you're conveyancing, get it sale ready, then choose an agent, and choose an agent like your future depends on it, because it does, and choose an agent that tells you how they create a market for your house. Ignore their guesses, valuations for your house. Ignore them. Ignore them. Ignore them. The market will decide. I know it's hard because you're like, well, we need to know what we're going to get for it before we can decide. You're right. And that's why you need to get offers on your house. If you need to know what you got from the sale of your house before you can bid on the next one, the only way to know what you're going to get is to have your house under offer, right? To have the offers coming in. And the only way to get the offers coming in a buyer's market is to not overprice it. All the best, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.